everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all having a super lovely day. Today's video is actually one that I've received a lot of requests for information about, which is what it was like transporting our dog from London to Australia. So everything that was involved with that, the quarantine process, everything. And so I thought, since I've had so many questions, I should probably do a video. Also, when I was, in the lead up to moving my own dog, I was searching for this video and I didn't really find it, so hopefully it will help someone out there. So yeah, grab your drink, I've got my coffee, and I hope you enjoy the video. If it's your first time here, you probably searched for this because it's quite, I guess, a niche topic, but if you haven't, you're just curious, thanks for watching. So I moved my dog from London in the UK to Sydney, Australia in August 2020. It was in the midst of COVID, so it was very complicated. There were a lot of flight cancellations and rebookings and cancellations and a whole nightmare regarding that. I'm gonna tell you what it was like to move my dog, like pretending COVID wasn't real, because there was just the mishaps that happened. There was nothing that could be done about that on behalf of the transport agency. So we used an agency called Petair UK. The agent that I was dealing with, her name was Catherine. She's absolutely lovely. She was an angel. I feel so sorry for her and all of the other staff, because I think it must have been really stressful all the time with things getting cancelled and all of that. But they were super. I have to say that the customer service, for a start, was really, really amazing. She was happy to answer the phone 24/7 really. Emails were really quick, responses were really quick, because there were a lot of things going wrong and she was just dealing with it like a trooper, and she was so wonderful and really reassuring for us that she was doing her absolute best to make sure that Nina, my dog, travelled as safely as possible. So yeah, Catherine from Petair, I will link their website below. If you're moving your animal from the UK elsewhere, unfortunately they don't do any transport between somewhere else to the UK. They only go from the UK outside of the UK, I'm afraid. But yeah, I'll let you know what all that process was like. So the whole process takes, I'd say about 8 months to be in the clear, to be safe. You have to get a rabies, well, you don't have to, your dog has to get a rabies vaccination about 6 months before the flight, and then they have to wait a while, and then they have to get another, a blood test to see if they've got rabies antibodies. And then between then and the day of the flight, there's a few different vet appointments that are required, just loads of different blood tests or injections, vaccinations, all sorts of things. So there's a lot of vet visits. One thing I would say, if you're planning on moving a dog that you already own, then yeah, of course, bring them with you. They're your family member. Yeah, obviously, that's why you're watching this video. But if you haven't got a dog yet and you're thinking about getting one, knowing that you're gonna move, and I'm only saying this because this is me. I knew when we got Nina that we were moving back to Australia, but we just thought, we're getting a dog and we're gonna bring her with us, so it's fine. And we were adopting a dog, and I knew that we were gonna bring her with us. It didn't occur to me all of the procedure leading up to taking the dog would be potentially traumatic. There are a lot of vet visits, vaccinations, procedures that have to be done before the animal can fly, and that's not fun for the dog, and it's stressful. And I mean, obviously every dog's different, and mine was a rescue and she was very anxious, and it even had on her like little patient documents, I suppose, that she's especially anxious at the vet. She requires gentle handling, requires special care, because she was just very, very anxious at the vet. And then for her to have to go again and again and again and again, and she was getting more anxious every time, it's quite traumatic. So that's just the lead up to the flight. That's not even the flight. So I would say if you don't have an animal yet and you're planning on moving, move first, or consider moving first and getting your pet once you've settled in here. It would save you a lot of money, firstly, because moving the animal is very expensive, and it will also save your pet a lot of stress, both in the lead up to the flight and the flight itself and the quarantine. So yeah, but obviously if you're watching this video because you've already got an animal that you want to move with you, then yeah, good on you for bringing him with, or her. So yeah, there is a lot of vet work that needs to be done. With the pet agency, one of the things that I loved about Petair is they made it very, very obvious and easy for us. If you don't get everything done correctly, and everything has to be done on a specific timeline, like this has to be done this many days or weeks before they fly, this one has to be done this many days or weeks before they fly, and if you don't get the timeline right, then you can spend all this money and all this time at the vet and your pet can't fly. So the agency really organizes it all for you, and you just pay the agency the fee. For us it was about £5,000. I can't remember exactly, but it was about £5,000. And I think if we had a bigger dog it would have been even more expensive, because we have a puggle. So she's a small to medium breed, but obviously that means that injections, vaccinations are cheaper because she's smaller. She needs a smaller dose. Her kennel is smaller. Or, you know, the bigger the dog, the bigger the cost in general. So yeah, it is a pricey thing to bring your pet with you as well. Where was I? Okay, so we started off by getting in touch with Petair. Actually, we were going to use a different company, but they told us that they had stopped flying pets to Australia like before COVID, and that I don't know what happened to the company, but anyway, they've referred us to Petair, which we used, and yeah, in hindsight they were really great. So yeah, the procedure is that you would get in touch with the agency, pay them. You can pay in installments, by the way. You don't have to pay like the whole 5,000 or whatever it is up front. You pay in installments. You get all the vet things done, and then the day before the flight, they can pick your dog up from your house, or you can drop it off at their centre, which is at Heathrow Airport, and she'll spend the night before the flight there, which we did that because if they came to pick up Nina from our house, she wouldn't leave the house. Like, she wouldn't understand why someone else taking me from my house when my owners are right here. We did contemplate leaving the house and because she would go with if she thought it was a dog walker, but she wouldn't leave the house without her owners if her owners were present. So what we ended up doing is my husband just ended up dropping her off at the facility the day before her flight. Now, they were really nice. They gave us photos and updates of her right up until she was in her kennel ready to board the flight the next day. My heart, like, just thinking about the anxiety. Her little face in the kennel, but they said she was really well behaved. She didn't seem very anxious. She's a really obedient dog anyway. And I think when she's anxious, she really does just do what she's told to do. But yeah, so they put her in her kennel, they boarded her up. The flight to Australia is long. She flew with Qatar Airways. I was very impressed with the service from Qatar. She had to fly to Doha. She had to spend 24 hours in their facility before flying onwards to Melbourne. And when she was in Doha, they sent me a photo, which I will insert, of her, because they take them out of the crate and feed them, water them, play with them, cuddle them. The vet will look over them, make sure that they've, like, you know, handled the flight okay, and they get checked out again before every flight. They get checked by a vet. So I was really happy, because I was under the impression that I would not hear from her until the plane landed in Melbourne. So and in Melbourne, at the quarantine facility, I know that they don't send you any pictures or updates of your dog or anything like that. You just get an email to say your pet has been checked into the facility. So I just thought, that's it, I'm sending her on a plane and I just hope she'll be okay. So it was really reassuring and lovely of Qatar Airways to send us the update and the picture of her and the vets that took care of her. Yeah, that was just really comforting and really nice. So I would highly recommend Qatar for moving your pet. The other thing is, yeah, so you do get to kind of choose what airline you want to move your pet with. There's only a certain amount, like it's not like you can choose from any airline. Obviously you can only choose from the airlines that carry pets. At the moment it's difficult because Australia doesn't have many flights coming in at all. We were initially had her flying with Singapore Airlines, but they had cancelled the flights about 1 million times due to COVID, not just out of their own accord, but due to COVID, flights were cancelled continuously, and we'd have her rebooked onto another flight and then they'd be cancelled. And anyway, in the end, the Petair, they said, listen, we can try to get her onto Qatar Airways, but there's no guarantee that they'll accept her because she's half pug. I will come back to this. But what we can do is she doesn't look that puggy like she does, but she's got quite a long snout. She's got more of a beagle snout, so they hopefully just won't really check her papers that closely. This was so stressful, but yeah, it's the only way that we can definitely, because during COVID so far, Qatar is the most reliable airline. They have not cancelled any flights yet or anything like that. So we were like, okay, let's just do that, send her with Qatar. They said worst case scenario, she'll make it as far as Doha and then she'll get turned around and sent back to London if they are refusing to fly her further. Anyway, that didn't happen. She got all the way there, so it was fine. So yeah, she flew all the way, from Doha then to Melbourne, and then she had to quarantine in the Mickleham quarantine facility for 10 days. 10 days is the minimum. I think they do like tests, blood tests or whatever, and if they're all good, then they'll stay for the 10 days. If it looks like something else has come up and they need to stay for longer, I suppose they'll keep them in longer. The facility looks nice online, like there is exercise areas and stuff like that, but as I said, they don't give you any updates, but I guess that's not what they're there for. But yeah, they only feed the dogs once a day. Nina's used to having 2 meals a day and a few treats, so she did come back a bit skinnier, but that's actually kind of a good thing because she was a bit chubby actually. She needed to lose weight. So yeah, so that's the quarantine facility. Then after they've left quarantine in Melbourne, she then had to fly to Sydney. So this was a very long trip for a little dog, but she was fine. We were still in quarantine, my husband and I, because of COVID. We had to quarantine in a hotel, so she was released before us. So my friends had picked her up for us, my friends that had actually, like, they lived in London too and they'd just come back to Australia, so Nina knew them, so that was nice for her to be picked up by familiar faces, and she was very, very happy and excited. And then she came to my mum's house where we're staying now, and she's met my mum and my sister before when they've come to visit in London, so I think that was really good. And then eventually we came, and of course she was really happy to see us, so she was super happy to see every familiar face that she had already known. She was super excited to see us, of course, but she didn't seem damaged in any way. Like, I think she was fine in quarantine and she handled the flights really well. So because that was my biggest anxiety. I was just terrified. She was already a really anxious dog, and yeah, no, she did really well. So that should be reassuring for you, I hope, if you're worried about your pet. I would just consider waiting until you've moved to get the pet, because like I said before, there's a lot of vet procedures in the lead up to the move, which is stressful enough. Then the flights, the quarantine, they're away from you. And then you also need to look at, which we didn't look at, guys, the breed that you're getting may not be allowed to fly. So do so much research to make sure, because Nina's half pug, there are a few airlines that don't fly pugs or pug crosses, which is why we were super limited. And not just pugs, but any brachycephalic, like flat-faced breeds. I think they just don't do as well in the air. So that was a stressful thing as well. It's like, even the flights that do take them, like, are they taking a risk with flying my dog? Yeah, is she literally going to survive? It's terrifying. So we didn't look or even consider that when we saw Nina in the shelter. We just fell in love with her and we like, yeah, we'll take her. And we didn't even realize that that could be an issue affecting her flight. So if you haven't got an animal yet, a dog yet, and you're certain that you want to get one, just do lots of research on the breed that you want to get, whether they can fly, and all of that stuff. And then also, some dogs are more prone to having anxiety and separation anxiety than others, and they might not deal as well with the flight, so, or the time in quarantine away from you. So just really look into that as well if you're considering getting a dog. What else was I gonna say? I think that's about it. But do post any questions down in the comments if I've missed anything that you want to know, and I'll do my best to help you out with that. Again, Petair was just amazing. Like I said, we had loads of cancellations and changing of airlines and all sorts of things, and they were really, really, like, just mind-blowingly amazing with how they handled it all, and how they handled my constant, like, anxious phone calling every day to check what was going on. They were just, yeah, really, really good. So I would recommend Petair. I would recommend that you don't get a dog if you don't already have one, but if you do already have one, then that's great. But if you don't and you're definitely going to get one, before you fly, just do lots of research on the breed and the flights available for that breed, and yeah, its characteristics in terms of, like, its possibilities for separation anxiety and stuff like that. Remembering that rescue dogs might have more possibility of anxieties and things like that because of previous maybe abandonment issues, or you just don't know. So it's always something to consider, because it's a really big deal moving. It's a huge deal for you, and I dare say it's possibly an even bigger deal for your dog, because they don't know what's going on. So they get to this new home and it's still, like, unfamiliar, like, is this home, is this not home? Like, they don't know, and you can't explain it to them. So I wish I could talk to doggies and they would understand me and I would understand them, but I can't. Maybe one day. But anyway, that's it for this video, guys. I hope you found it helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and let me know. Don't forget, any further questions, just pop them in the comments below. I'll do my best to help you. And if you think you might like it here, then subscribe, because I'd love to have you join me for future videos. Thank you. Bye.